Here in the U.S., we have two frequency bands for two-way radios, VHF and UHF. In particular, the VHF operates in 130 to 174 megahertz, and both UHF and VHF are prone to line of sight factors, but VHF probably a little more so because the radio waves are a little bit wider than a UHF, so they have a harder time penetrating tight spots. However, in open areas, the VHF is definitely going to win. The signal will travel twice as far and it takes less power. And if you're working mostly outdoors, then VHF is probably the best choice for you, definitely. And you can also place high antennas higher to get more range out of a VHF. There are fewer frequencies available with VHF, so if you're in a busy area, it could be a little more congested, and the channels could have a lot more chatter on them. So that's one thing to take into account if you're in a large city. Now there is one section of the VHF frequencies. They're called MURS frequencies. They're around 150 megahertz. There's 5 channels that the FCC has set aside for MURS use, and this is unlicensed. Most of the VHF channels are licensed frequencies, whereas the MURS is unlicensed. So those, and they're very lightly used, even in most big cities. There's not a lot of activity on those. So, and plus there are some privacy codes that you can use. So even if you're on the same channel as someone else, you don't have to hear their chatter if you're on a different privacy code than them. And similarly with MURS, you can increase your range by just adding an external antenna. Of course, that's hard to do on a handheld walkie-talkie, but we do have base station intercoms that can take advantage of that. And for battery power, VHF will definitely last longer than a UHF radio because UHF has to pump out more power to get a similar range. So it just really depends on what you need for how you're going to use the radio as to whether you'll go UHF or VHF. But if you'd like to talk to one of our product experts at Intercoms Online, we can walk you through the available radios and help you make the right choice for you. Just give us a call.